Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am Legion for Dying Light 1 and 2. My name is Jason, and tonight I'll be going through a quick tutorial, updated tutorial on how to update and install the mod. So 1.1H just dropped, and I want to go ahead and go through some of the settings here so that if you guys have any questions or difficulty, you can refer back to this video and be able to install the mod a little bit faster. So on my desktop, I've got the installed or the downloaded version of the installer that was pulled off of the Nexus. And we're going to go ahead and go through and I'll show you how to actually set up the mod in the game, especially if you're setting this up for the first time. Welcome to the mod. So first and foremost, I would use Steam to kickstart your process here to find the root folder. So first we're going to go and locate Dying Light 2. Then we're going to go ahead and hit right click and go to properties. From here we can go to local files, and then right here we can hit browse. And what this is this is the actual root. So anytime you see anywhere in my documentation that I refer to the root location or the root install, this is actually the root of the game. And in some of the other documentation, I mentioned these three folders. These are the ones I'm referring to. And what we're going to want to do is head over to ph source, and then you should get a folder like this. Now, for some reason, I get these extra files here, but for you guys, I think you'll probably be seeing your data 0, your data 1, ignore this data 2, and I got to clear that other one out. That's actually physics are back. And then the data B, bt.impact. So these three files are actually the only ones that should be there. If you have any other data 2, data 3, data 4, data 5, etc., I would go ahead and recommend uninstalling them at this point. Anytime an official update drops, it's hard to know what's causing the game to crash and what's actually stopping us from being able to play. And so this will allow you to very quickly go in here, remove this file, or remove these mods and start over just to make sure that everything's working. Once you've set this up, go ahead and let's head back over to Steam. And what I would recommend is going ahead and going to Properties, Local Files, and verify integrity of game files. So what this is this going to go through and check your game status to make sure everything is updated properly. I will go ahead and say for everybody who's cracked the game, this mod does not work for the correct version of the game. This mod is intended to be an overhaul for the entire game. It has over 1 million changes to the game itself, and therefore needs to be the very latest version. So when you are receiving these official updates, sometimes you'll get file failures on the download, and so making sure that the game is actually fully updated is really crucial to the whole process here. So make sure to do that, verify integrity of the game files, and it'll go ahead and clear up any issues that you have with the game itself. Once you've done that, we're now ready to install. So you probably won't have this uninstaller here at this location either, so I can go ahead and delete that as well so we can get it back to how you're expecting to see it. And we're going to go ahead and go to our installer. So let's go to our installer and open this up. Inside here, we have our uninstaller, we have our installer, and we have our README. Inside the README, I've included the basic steps that you need to do, some things that you need to know, and then also every time I update, you'll see the latest changes here on the changelog, and you can also continue to scroll down and see all the changes that are being made over every update, along with a link to the full changelog online. So once we have that set up, basically I've included this uninstaller. If something goes wrong, if you didn't set things up how you wanted to, and you can't actually find the uninstaller on your system, then that's what this file is for. If you don't ever need it, don't worry about it. So let's go ahead and head over to our actual installer. If we run that, you can go ahead and run that from within the zip file. You don't actually have to extract that. Once you load that up, you should see the latest version should be reflected here at the top of the installer. And I'm going to go ahead and actually see if I can zoom in a little bit here, so that way you guys can see. I don't know if this is actually doing too much here, but let's see if we can. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this window here. And basically the idea here is that the same file that you just saw in the README is going to show up here every single time. So you can also go back and double check things as you're going. But we're going to go ahead and hit next. Once we do that, it does not have the proper location to your game. Most people are not going to have this Dying Light 2 folder at this location. I've set this up so that you know that this is the Dying Light 2 folder that we're looking for, and essentially that is that root folder that we've been talking about. So in this case, I've already got that root folder open because we went ahead and cleared things out. If you're looking at how you can get back to that, go back to Steam or Steam, right click this, go to Properties, Local, and then Browse, and that'll bring you right back to the same location, and this is our root. So to save time, you can navigate using the installer, so you can use Browse, but to save time, you can also just go to that root and copy that location. So you can just right click, hit copy, or hit Control C, and we're going to go over to our installer and paste that in. Then we can go ahead and hit next. It will tell you that you already have this folder, and that is exactly what it should say because you're replacing files that are inside of this. If you do not get this warning, you have probably not set the right location. So if you get past this step and folder exists does not pop up, that means you've actually pointed in the wrong location and you need to go back and correct that. So we're going to hit yes. Once we're at this next section, this is telling you what data files are going to be installed. So basically, we've got a couple of optionals on top of the core file. I had to switch over to data 2. So originally the mod has been data 3 for the past pretty much the past year, but recently I've switched over to data 2 to make room for additional optionals in the list. And so here you can see the actual file sizes, and you can see some basic settings here. So we have our casual survivor, our survivor, and ultimate survivor. So as of the latest version, I'll go ahead and summarize these while I'm here. Casual survivor is meant for those of you who keep asking, hey, can we get all of these features as standalone features? You know, we like the new zombies, we like all these, new things you've added to the game, but we don't really like the difficulty. Well, that's what Casual Survivor is meant to do, is to bring you the vanilla game, but allow you to start using all the new features. So please try this out. I need feedback here because I want to try to keep this as close to the vanilla game as possible while continuing to add in the new features along top. Now, that being said, some of these things make changes to intelligence. So humans may have better intelligence, zombies may have better intelligence, that kind of thing. But it is meant to keep with the vanilla standard and not really go too far into the difficulty. Next, we have Survivor, which is recommended for everybody who has ever played the game and wants to jump into Dying Light 2 and just enjoy the game. That they're not looking for a super difficult challenge, and they're just looking for a fun time inside the game. More spawns, more intelligent creatures. Everything is really blended together to where this is supposed to be as lore friendly as I can make it while also packing in the difficulty. Next, we have the Ultimate Survivor, and really the big difference between Ultimate Survivor and Survivor, I've got some changes to the damage. I've got the fact that the biters will run and climb. So that is the biggest difference between Survivor and Ultimate Survivor. And then there's also the spawn density. But we'll also get back to the config settings here in a little bit. And so I'll show you how, if you wanted to have the exact same difficulty of Ultimate Survivor, but without the climbers, without the running biters, I'll show you how to do that in this video. Stay tuned towards the end and we'll go through the actual config values. Here at the bottom, we've got a couple of optionals that I've added. So basically, if you do not like what I've done with the gliders, if you want to keep the vanilla glider in your game and you do not want to have to equip the glider to use it inside the game, go ahead and check this box. This does not automatically delete, so every time the mod updates, if it is like a major update, go ahead and assume that this has not been updated properly and that the version that you have inside your folder may actually cause problems. I have not had a chance to update the uninstaller yet to where it is properly uninstalling these optionals, and so because of that, just please be aware that when you start this up or when you go through the process of updating, if you have installed optionals previously, just be mindful that you will need to continue to update those as new versions come out. It will not immediately recognize that you check these boxes. I believe it should, but I can't guarantee that. I don't use these all the time, so I don't use any of the optionals, and so it's very hard to always remember to keep trying all these different variables as we continue to update. And so please just bear with me and give me feedback on the Discord, and we'll continue to round that out. Also, if you do not like the fact that there are children inside the world, if you do not like zombie children, if you do not like the zombie banshees, there is this optional here that I've updated tonight, which will allow you to remove those from the world. So you don't have to worry about any of the creepy children inside the world. As a side note, I have also updated that with this latest version, so there's even more creepy children to bug you while you are crawling through the game. So we're going to go ahead and install with Survivor and just keep all of the basics, no optionals, and we're going to hit next. This grayed out version at the top is absolutely required at this point, so I don't even bother really not allowing this. If you do not want to have the custom menu and the new R packs, basically this is absolutely required if you want the new zombies, if you want to be able to run through the bases and some of these additional features I've added to the mod. If you don't want this, then you'll have to use the manual installer, and that will take more time and energy to get set up. So, you know, buyer beware there. So that is automatically checked. We're going to go ahead and next. And this basically has the options to install this to your start menu. We're going to go ahead and agree. If you do not want anything in your start menu, you can click this check mark down at the bottom and it will turn that off when it installs. But we're going to go ahead and hit next. It will summarize what you are installing, and then we'll go ahead and hit install. So what this is doing, I left the root open so you can kind of see as it goes. It will install an uninstaller at the root. So anytime you ever go back over to your Dying Light 2 folder, properties, local files, browse, you should immediately see the ability to uninstall I Am Legion. So when you double click that, it will ask, do you want to uninstall I Am Legion? You can say yes or no there, and it will remove everything for you. Now I have updated the mod to where if you uninstall, it should restore everything back to vanilla, so you should be able to jump back in, but that is only if you are installing this over a true vanilla version of the game. So if you had any previous version of I Am Legion before, if you've had any other modifications, any other texture injections, anything else that you've done with the Nexus, I can't guarantee that this will work as expected. But if you want to go ahead and revert back to default like we did at the start of this by clearing everything out and doing that initial install, it should set up everything properly. On your desktop, you should end up with three icons. So I'm going to slide the screen over here. We should end up with these three icons on the desktop as well. Basically, that's to allow you to get to the install path. So if we close this out and open it back up, you can see this is taking us straight to the root. So if you've installed to the wrong location, you should be able to run this icon and immediately see that you are not in the right location and that you installed in the wrong place. You also have a Dying Light 2 shortcut, so if you want to go ahead and launch the game, make sure it installed properly, you can do so here. And if you want to uninstall I Am Legion Reborn, you can go ahead and do so here by clicking that link. Okay, so you have now officially installed the game or the mod onto the game. Everything should work from here. And basically, if we jump into our PH source folder and scroll down, you should now see a Data 2 pack. And that is what is installing the core mod. So we do not have any optionals installed, so it is just the core files. And if you ever want to remove the mod, make sure you use the uninstaller. Simply removing this Data 2 pack will not actually uninstall the mod at this point. You will need to run that uninstaller. So let's go ahead and dive into the config files really quick. And I know that a couple of people have had issues with that. If you are having any issues, I'll go ahead and summarize. If you're having any issues where the biters cannot attack you, you cannot die, you're having health weirdness, players are not NPCs are not attacking you, etc., etc. Any weird glitches like this almost can always be solved by just going over here to Dying Light 2, going to properties, going to local files, and saying verify the integrity of the game. I mean, most of the complaints that I've gotten on the Discord are not complaints, but concerns about bugs. Most of those can be fixed or remedied by going and verifying the files first, relaunching the game, and players have been, time and time again, that has been one of the main problems that players are having. And seeing how 1.8.1 just dropped, I'm sure 1.8.3c will be dropping here in the next couple of days. More than likely, this is going to happen all over again. This happens anytime a main update or an official update occurs, and so stand by. I'm sure we might run into more people asking. So if you see anybody asking those questions on the Discord, make sure to go ahead and help them out. If you know how to fix it as well, that's always a big help with the community. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and talk about the config. So once we've installed the mod, so again, on your desktop, you have an icon that allows you to quickly get back to your actual install location. We can go into ph source, and down here we have our actual core mod. So if we open that up, so I would recommend using 7-zip, WinRare. Yeah, I think WinZip can get in here, but basically you have to be able to go in here and say open with, and then you have to tell it to open with WinRare or 7-zip or whatever you're using. Once you do that, you should be able to open that zip up, and now you've got access to all the main files. So basically, anytime I give you guys feedback on the Discord, if you come in and ask me how to do something, what needs to be changed in the mod, I don't like this feature, I want to do this. Most of the time, whatever feedback I give you is going to require you to open this data to. Either that or delete an optional, but most of the time it's going to be go into the data to. More than likely, I'm going to tell you to go into the example, go into the AI folder, go into data presets, and delete some of these files, kind of thing. And so that's pretty much the standard advice I give for people that want to do quick fixes, that are trying to remove a feature. Most of the time you will need to get access to this folder, so I would recommend, if you want to modify things, if you want to change things, I would recommend going ahead and installing WinRare or 7-zip while you're at it. So for the configuration file, so in this base root of the mod itself, we have this AIL_settings.mth. You can modify this without extracting it. Sometimes you do get these odd things that will occur where it doesn't properly update. So what I always recommend for people is to just drag this out really quick. So if you actually just drag right outside the file there, you'll see that it ends up. So in this case, I'm using my desktop. And from here, we can just double click it. So we're going to go ahead and let's see if I can actually, just pop that out, and we'll make that the primary thing that we're looking at here. And I still have not had a chance to go through and fully update this file. So most of these things do work, but there are several on here that are still not working. So if you're setting something and you're like, why doesn't this work? Mainly the ones that are like more the cheating ones that are like ghost mode and infinite stamina, weapon durability, that kind of thing. A lot of the mod has been focused on trying to get the realism and the difficulty reestablished into the game. So most of the ones that are focused around that will actually work, while the other ones are still in progress. So one of the biggest ones, we'll go ahead and while we're here. So basically this is a whole, it's not superhuman readable. I've tried to go in here and add comments to the ones that are less obvious. If you have any questions, you can always just post what the value is and ask me what that is on the Discord. I'm also setting things up to where, and I've always hoped that people would do this, is that as you're modifying modifying these values, that you jump on the Discord and actually go to the config share, and you share what you've changed, what you've done, what's your play style, that kind of thing, so that other people can quickly try your different configurations. So one of the things that we've got here that I know is probably the biggest one that people ask and is the most common one now is the survivor sense. So most people really enjoy the wall hacks. I absolutely hate the wall hacks. I don't like the fact that you can see through walls, that you can see enemies. Really the loot is fine because not everything can be looted. But as far as that goes, I really don't like the survivor sense. So for Survivor and Ultimate Survivor, those have been disabled. So if we want to turn those back on, it's very simple. All we need to go is to this first one here that says IAL Survivor Sense Red Enemies Range. Basically, all I've done is lowered the range that the Survivor Sense shows up. So a couple of people have already reported that if you use your Survivor Sense and enemies start to get close, you will see them actually with the red sense if they're right up on you attacking. You can turn this even lower if you want. I have not tested what it does if you go to 0.0, so I'm not sure if that actually breaks anything. So probably need to go down to like 0.1 if you want to truly get that eliminated. If you want to go in here and add it back to what it was, 20 is the default value, and I apologize. I've been meaning to comment on here and put the default, but I have not. When in doubt, just use the values that are default below it. Most of the defaults for Survivor Sense was 20 for some reason. So if you put 20 here and hit save, this will actually just restore the survivor sense in the game for Survivor and Ultimate Survivor. So if you really enjoy the wall hacks, you can't live without them, I would highly recommend trying the game without them. They definitely change the gameplay and make interiors more deadly and more creepy for sure. Especially if you're trying to use audio. Put a headset on, try to clear a room by audio only without cheating through the walls. The next is going to be density. So I know that most people are asking about, what's the deal with Survivor Sense? Next, we're going to go over to density. So basically, if we want the streets to be flooded, I've gone through and I've updated a lot of this code recently. It's gotten better, but it definitely still has its ups and downs. We're basically at about 7 times the standard zombies on Survivor, and so this is a big impact to your graphics because you're rendering so many zombies. So because of that, just be aware that when you're setting this, you will probably need to experiment so that you don't crash or have problems with the game. But essentially, these standards that I've set up so far for the different ones seem to have worked. I haven't really received much feedback from you guys that you're having crashes and that kind of thing. So right now for Survivor, we're using 3.0 for most of these. Ultimate is up to 2.0 and Casual is up to 4.0. So if we want to go through and lower this down even more, you can look here and see whether it's day or night. The idea is that when you have special locations such as around bases and that kind of thing, those are going to be the hub or OWA. You also have the flooded zones, so that's the actual flooded environments, the green world, and then also you have the different settings. So these are not based on difficulty. I originally thought they were. These are actually based on some initial things that they set up in the game that they're determining the zones as easy, medium, and hard. And then this top one is going to be the standard vanilla. These are not really laid out in the map very well, so these fluctuate pretty severely. You can change these in the game by going to the AI settings and actually changing the area settings files. That's where these are actually being deployed, but it does take quite a bit of knowledge to know how to do so. So I guess what I'm saying here is that these really are kind of random as you go through. I just would recommend setting a standard, and you'll get a pretty good mix across the world. So basically, if we wanted to go in here and say, okay, in the daytime, I actually want to go more with the lore and have less zombies, I can actually go in here and hike up these numbers. So the higher you go, the less zombies, the lower you go, the more zombies. And so basically then we could say, okay, at nighttime, I actually want to increase the amount of zombies. I could just go in here to all the 2s and drop it by 1. And so if I save this file should allow me to then have more zombies at night, less zombies during the day, and also Survivor Sense turned back on. So Survivor Sense will be turned back on. I'm going to actually go ahead and share this file in the config share so that anybody wants to use this. And then also one thing I will also note is that down below this, we have the spawn logic and this special spawn distance minimum and max. This is actually for the screamers. So I was just playing the vanilla game the other day and I noticed that there are screamers everywhere. Like the whole map is littered with these standing still screamers. The screamers in my mod move, and so because of that, there's much more likely chance that you're going to run into a screamer in the game. So what I've done is I've actually turned down the distances at which you'll encounter screamers to try to make them a little bit more rare in the world. And so that way you can have more fun against the zombies and the spitters and the volatiles without worrying that the whole map is going to come down on you every couple of minutes. Because basically the more screamers, the more impossible the map becomes, especially with some of the improvements I made on this last update. So if you wanted to, for example, go in here and make more screamers, we could easily go in here and drop this down. And as you can see here, Ultimate actually has more screamers than the Survivor version does. If you wanted more of these, you can drop this down even more to like 50, and you could still leave this pretty high so you get a pretty good range of mix there. But then you can also lower this down to like 100, and then the map should have a lot more screamers in it. So as the density is increased, so will the special spawns. So just know that all of this entire section kind of works together. So the special zombies, I believe, are only at night. So if you've increased this by a lot, then decreasing this by a lot will probably result in a map flooded with screamers. So just be aware of that. So I believe that's most of the common ones that people have asked about. Some of these other ones in here, like inventory size and all that good stuff, feel free to modify as much as you like. And one of the other big ones is the camera FOV, which I can't remember if they've actually added that to the options. I think that's in the options now. But then also the time scale is also found here as well. So you can see here the vanilla settings alongside that. So for example, in vanilla, nights are super short. I mean, I think the last time I checked, it was something like 6 minutes, 5 minutes for night, and 12 minutes for day, something like that. So we've gone up to where I think it's around 24, 20 minutes for both day and night. So you actually have to try to survive night over a period of time. Okay, guys, if you guys have any questions, you can find me at the Discord. Like I said, I'm going to upload this actual config file, and I apologize. I'm going to one last step here. Once we've saved everything, we can actually just go ahead and close that down, and we can go back to that desktop file or wherever you extracted that and just drag that right back into the file. You can see that it's updated and the latest time that it's been updated, and you can then just launch the game. Really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and resize the screen here. We'll go ahead and launch, and I will talk about the actual printed version that I've added to the menu here so that you guys are aware of what the purpose of that is. So let's go ahead and launch the game. So when you launch the game, if you've installed the mod correctly, you should immediately see a new splash screen when you start the game. This splash screen should include a version in the bottom right corner of the screen. The reason for this is so that you can determine very quickly if the latest version is truly compatible with the latest version. If it's not compatible, then you'll know immediately, or at least you should know immediately, because when they update the game, it's going to actually remove that version. So you should no longer see my splash screen when you load the game. And then also, as it's updating, if they've updated that and you still have installed the mod, so say you've gone in here and you've actually run the installer and you've installed the mod and it's not the right version, you should see inside the game that the version is 1.81c, the mod is actually 1.81c. Once this upgrades to, for example, 1.83c, which is right here in like a week, I guarantee it, this will become outdated. And if you're running this version of the mod, there is a much higher chance that you will break a save game. So let me go over really quick rolling back save games. So if you've gone through and say you have launched the game, and once you've launched the game with the outdated version of the mod, you've loaded it up, you realize things are breaking, you realize things have crashed, I wouldn't worry too much, because at that point, it should not generate a save at that point. Their auto save system requires you to traverse around the map before it'll actually save. In the event that it actually saves, you could actually lose data in your inventory. I've seen several cases where on the update from, I think it was 1.53c to 1.60, they went through and modified the inventory files, and then playing with a modded version of the game resulted in people losing their inventories. And that was a nightmare when it happened. I see much, much less of that now. And so hopefully that means you guys are hearing more of these cautionary tales and videos and have adapted to that. But if you do go in here and say, for example, you've jumped in and it's saved and you've messed up your game, you can, if you've played a later version, for some reason, some of the older versions of the game or the ones that you download online. If they do not have their backup files, you can't roll them back. But for the newer versions, you should be able to actually, if you select them, you can see over on the side there, it says roll back. We can press X and it will let you know, hey, you're rolling back to this point and that it's going to erase your game. And so it should go ahead and roll back that file for you. Most of the time that does fix the game. What I would recommend is that if that does not fix the game, if restoring does not fix the issue, then more than likely what you need to do is go ahead and quit the game and go ahead and rewind back to the original part of the video and watch how I was basically talking about clearing out your mods. For the I Am Legion mod, you will have to run the uninstaller, but go ahead and clear things out on your mods. Go ahead and run file verification, launch the game, and load into your save game and confirm that things are fixed. If you can run around, check your inventory, all that good stuff, everything is working as expected, go back to installing your mods and continue to modify the game. But you cannot really continue forward with the messed up save game if you have mods installed, because you don't know which mods are causing the issue. And so this is not specific to any one mod. There have been a lot of mods that have become target to some of these updates that are causing things to break. And so most of the time you just need to uninstall mods, get back to vanilla, fix the issues, and then go back to modding the game after. For any additional questions as you guys have, I'm happy to lend any feedback I can. Again, right here at the close, I will mention again, the mod does not work with the cracked version of the game. If you're playing with a cracked version of the game, A, shame on you. B, you can't play the mod because it's an overhaul. You can't actually get it to work. And at this point, 1.43, or I think it's actually 1.42C, is what most people report that they're trying to play. That game's so outdated at this point compared to the mod that there's no way that we're going to get that backwards compatible. So thank you guys. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you guys again for all your support for the mod. I'm super excited about the amount of fan base that we're getting. More and more people in the Discord every day. If you have not joined the Discord, follow the links here below on the YouTube channel. And I look forward to hearing your guys' feedback and look forward to the next update. So some of the big things coming up is base building, companions, and some new custom AI. So I'm working again on some new custom bandits, and Warzone is the name of 1.2. Once 1.2 launches, we should have some more interesting environments inside the world, along with some new factions. And hopefully you guys are prepared for some new content. I'm looking forward to your guys' feedback. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll catch you next time. Happy gaming. Thanks again.